Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited.
Thank you for asking. It's really nice.
I'm excited to talk to you. So let me introduce you. So Sherika Sherard. I love your music. And great website too. I hadn't been to your website because I've been following you on Instagram, and I just visited your website before this, and I was like, nice.
Squarespace is amazing.
Oh,
I have to say,
it looks awesome. Cool. That's good to know. Yeah, and so for everyone, we'll put all the links down below. So I'll have your website, like your Spotify, or link to where they can find your music. Instagram. Do you have a YouTube channel?
Yes, I do. It's just
awesome.
Sherard as well.
We'll
put all the videos on there, but I plan to put more up.
And I have to say, the really cool videos for people to check out are the TED Talk that you in France. I saw the music you did for that, and that was really cool. So you've done some fun stuff. So I'm really excited to talk to you. And just like you're unique in terms of the people I've gotten to talk to, I haven't talked to somebody who like busking. Like that's something you're doing all the time. So let's dig in a little bit. Cause I'm excited, but people are watching this, or we just want to give them an idea like who you are. So tell us.
I'm Sherika Sherard. I've been doing music full time now for I think about 4 years now.
Oh wow!
I started my career by busking, just simply because I was only working in a supermarket and they didn't pay me, and they didn't forget to pay me. There was some problem, whatever, and and I was like, well, I need to pay my rent, and so I just went out and started busking, and I just made more money in an hour than I did a whole day.
Wow.
The market. So I was like, oh, I might as well do this. It's why I love singing. And, even though my mom was like, no, you should never go busking or anything like that. But I was like, you know what? It's a great way to get your music out there. And I was desperate at the time. I needed a bit of money. And since then, it's just allowed me to keep on doing music full time. It gets me a lot of my bookings. It allows me to still be independent and find a good way to promote my music. So, yeah, that's me at the moment, I think.
And what was so interesting, so you're in London, correct? So some of the people that have seen you busking have also opened other opportunities for you, which I thought is neat. Do you want to share some of that?
Yeah. So I had Sil see me busk. I think he was looking for buskers anyway.
Okay.
He had a show in Manchester and he did it with a busker there, which I hadn't seen yet. And then it was actually the South Bank Centre, which is basically like a cultural centre that has loads of performances and stuff on the River Thames. And they're the ones who give out the busking license. So they were like, oh, do you want to come in and do a bit of busking? Like, never really do, but I was like, having a bit of a rubbish day. So I just kind of went out and his security guard turned up first, which was a bit not intimidating, but just a bit because my amp didn't break, but it just the battery ran out. And he was like, oh, are you finishing now? There's someone who really wants to listen to you. I was like, oh, okay. So I carried on. Then Sil came. Then he asked me to open his show for him in Greenwich and in Brussels. So yeah, that was good. Really cool.
That's really neat. That must have been a really awesome just experience in general.
Yeah, it is. But I think it's funny when, especially with busking, you meet so many different people, and like, not that I ever had to like kind of really perform on the spot. But sometimes people want to get engaged in front of you, so you're like a bit like, okay, I better make this good. But I think when it happened, I wouldn't say it's a downside of being like an independent musician, but all you're kind of thinking is like, well, how can I put more value into this moment? And even though it is amazing, it's hard because obviously when you think about content and stuff, when you think about it on the scale of like being online and people finding it, you kind of have to start being like, okay, like as soon as it finished, I was kind of like, okay, let me just try and email people. And it did help because if you're like, hey, yeah, I'm doing this at the moment, and I've just been invited to open for Sil, and it kind of takes you out of the moment a bit. And even though it's good to be in your business head, sometimes when you have moments like that, it's because you're just so thinking about, oh, who am I going to email? What am I going to do? It kind of, it's hard to be in the moment sometimes. But it was fun. But it also went it went quicker than I wanted it to, in a way, because I didn't get to enjoy it as an experience. I more made it into an opportunity, which is good. But
Right. Yeah, I think that's what sometimes we do often forget about is that, as a business, right? I mean, because you're making money to support yourself and still pay your rent and all that stuff. Some of these opportunities that come up, like you were saying, is like you need to try to leverage those or figure out how that's going to get you to the next opportunity and the next opportunity. And I think that we often forget about that. You think about all the fun side of everything, but there's obviously a lot of work and stuff that goes on the background of it.
Definitely, it's a bit like networking. It's like it could just be a simple conversation, and you could just really get to learn a lot from someone's experience. But then, and I try and like kind of scale it down a bit, but I find that if you actually connected with the person first, you'd actually get a lot more like out of them and out of their experiences, rather than, oh, so what have you done? Oh, so who are you working with at the moment? It's a bit like, oh, those are just like a small part of the bigger picture. But
so when you go out busking, like how long is like a session for you?
For me, an ideal session is an hour, and then sometimes in the overground stations, like the big ones, they do 2-hour slots usually. So I try and make the most out of them. It's more, I know a lot of people that do a lot longer. Personally, for me, I just can't perform that long. If you want my best, it has to be an hour.
So wait, do you like literally schedule like a location? You're saying they have a system in London that you're like scheduling for a particular location?
Yeah, like literally everyone's on like this kind of database, and it's run by a company for the overground. It's run by a company called Busker in London, and they are literally the ones that kind of get in touch with the stations, just all the sort of admin stuff and the safety stuff. So it's quite hard, like especially now it's quite busy. Like back in the day, a few years ago, you'd be able to get I used to be able to get 8 hours a week. Now, if you get 4, you're really lucky. It's like 3 hours a week now, because it's just really popular now. Every bus. But then on the South Bank, where I started, I don't do as much, just because it's cold in London now, and you just want to be kind of inside. But the South Bank, you have to go through the South Bank Centre, and then they have like auditions about twice a year. And when you go there, you don't have to book it. You don't get given a slot. But what happens is that, say if someone's playing, you go on next and you leave your equipment there. And so that person knows, okay, it's your equipment. I don't go too far from my equipment. So that's horror stories. But then say if there's 3 people in the queue, then that's you waiting for 3 hours before you play. So it's
that's I caught a little bit when you're talking about Seal, but I didn't have the full context. So now that's so interesting explaining this, because I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't know. I mean, but I always in my mind just thought here in the United States, like obviously you need a permit or a license to be a street performer, but I didn't think, like in my head I thought you just set up shop where you think you want to. It's going to be a good place, and I don't know. For all I know, in New York City and Boston, maybe there's some kind of similar setup. Interesting.
Yeah, I think when it's whereabouts are you?
I'm like an hour and 15 minutes outside of Manhattan, but I lived in Boston for the longest time, which is where I used to take the T, it's called there, and all that, and that's where I'd see a lot of performers.
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to, because I got American passport. My dad's American, so I've always asked people what it's like over there, to go over there and check it out. But yeah, in London, it's quite strict now. I think it's because of like people complaining about noise. Like there are some people who will come out now and be off their face and have a 2-string guitar that's still out of tune.
Yeah,
and will just play all day. And there's been times where I have to, in my experience, it's not really a community, I have to say. It's very like, it's a bit dog eat dog like sometimes, especially when you go to new spots, and then it's a shame because all we want to do is a bit of live music, and of course you want to make money, of course you want to get, but we all just share. Like there's times where I know someone hasn't got a license but they want to bus, and I'm like, okay, if you just stick to the rules, get in the queue, why not? Like, of course, why shouldn't you be able to play? If you're like, obviously, if I knew that it wasn't someone that was a musician or just wanted to make some easy money,
right?
Not that it wasn't a musician and wanted to make easy money, that's the two together, then I'd be a bit like, oh, it's a bit annoying, because there's people here that's actually wanting to play music and not just kind of randomly shouting something and just so I do think there has to be regulations, but it's quite it's not easy anymore. Like, you definitely, I think everyone waits about 2 to 3 hours if it's not a booked slot, which is another reason why I don't do the South Bank as much anymore.
Very cool. What brought you to music to begin with? Like, how did you get into music?
For me, it was, obviously everyone says, oh, you're young and you like singing and it's great. Yeah. And to be honest, I think it is that, but for me, it was not that I wasn't good at anything else, but I didn't really know my identity as well. Like, I was in the closet. I was good at stuff, but I didn't really feel like part of something, and I was still trying to find myself. And so at first, what music meant to me was that, oh, you're writing this song, and it's kind of like an easy way, a nice way of people getting to know you. Mm-hmm. So I kind of did my shows and did a bit of singing in assembly, and it kind of just made me feel like I fit in a bit more. And then obviously growing up and then doing more gigs and having management and stuff like that get in touch with you, obviously it changes a bit. But yeah, I think it was just more like that was the thing that I felt most comfortable doing, and I felt that I was exploring who I was as a person through it. So it was quite a personal journey at first, definitely.
That's so interesting, because I serendipitous, because recently I was just thinking about like what music meant to me, like in my life, and just in general, how I think of when I found music, it was sort of like similar in the sense, like, you know, I'd listen to music, but when I started making music, it was like an escape for me. It was like this other world. It was like an outlet for my feelings and figuring out who I was, and that it was so important that I had that in retrospect. And I think about how, just in general, how therapeutic making music, writing music can be for kids or adults, you know, and that it's never also too late to start. And so, and I think we're at a really interesting point in time now with, I see your pushback there, you know, with software and the ability for somebody that really may find some therapy in making music to be able to hop in and try to, you know, obviously there's learning curves still, but, you know, picking up a guitar is also really great, but sometimes can be frustrating because it takes years to become really good at playing guitar, and getting some of the self-gratification of, excuse me, just some of the help of software nowadays to, you know, some of the helpers that exist to hop into something and feel like right away, like, oh wow, I wrote a little song, you know.
Definitely. I was having this conversation the other day with someone about auto-tune. Okay. Like, I don't love hearing it all the time.
My series going off, sorry.
No, we're talking about auto-tune and stuff, and I think, sometimes I don't want to hear it all the time, but I don't have to hear it all the time. That's what happens when you have your taste in music. You get to choose what you listen to. But at the same time, I think, God, it's amazing that people are now able to be like, look, I can't sing, but let me just put this little thing on it and actually get my emotions out there and don't feel like it's stopping me. And that's something that I'm going through at the moment, where even just getting the push, I want to put it in my live set where, you know, I can like put some productive or samples in it. And it's been scary. It still is scary now, because I feel like, oh, I'm not a producer. I just play guitar and sing. But I was like, why am I stopping myself from this? I wasn't great at the guitar when I first started. And there's still now, as only the past few months, I've just started learning theory. So, you know, it just shows that I think you have to remind yourself of that feeling where it's, I think, especially when it becomes a job, I think that's the shift that I was talking about, that when you start obviously getting people listen to your music and management and just anything business, like you start thinking, oh, what it means to other people. And I find that transition is where it kind of, I think you kind of misunderstand, like, that you have to connect with it first in order to just be sure about what you're showing to people. Stuff like that.
Do you, have you heard of, I always forget her first name. Is it Tash Sultana?
Oh yeah, yeah, I heard the stuff. Yeah, really.
That's it's crazy stuff. Um, yeah, and I mean, I think that's a whole, like you're saying, it's a whole nother form to be able to bring in the live looping element to your music. Um,
What I love about her stuff as well, that I feel like, we kind of had the looping stuff, like Ed Sheeran and everyone's kind of doing that. But what I love with her stuff that is she put a lot of sound design into it, where it's like you have to sit down and like kind of make those sounds to make that whole landscape of sound that she gets at the end. It's amazing.
I mean, her pedal board, like I saw pictures, like just her gear, it's insane to make it happen. And I saw like I saw yeah, pictures of her busking and just seeing her setup, and I was like, oh my lord.
Yeah,
So but it's true, like learning the push, learning Ableton, learning how to incorporate that into your set, into your music. I mean, yeah, it's a challenge. And I hear you. It's like something the other day I was thinking to myself, like, why don't you just do it? Like, why are you, I was like, why am I putting up such a wall here? I'm like, just do it, but sometimes it's hard.
It's so true. I literally started this challenge today where you just have to get into the cold shower. And I was like, it's so funny how your mind can come with so many excuses why you shouldn't do something. And it's like, just do it. Like, even now, like, there's times where I find the song on Spotify and it's not mixed well. It's not like professionally recorded, but I get the idea of it and I like it. And that's why I love that there's so many niches now. Like, people are like, oh, there's not going to be any big pop stars anymore. Like, so what? So what? Like, that's because there's more opportunity now and people are just more like diverse in the music they go for. And they're just smart and don't feel like they have to go for one, even though there are still some people like that, obviously. Yeah. But I think it's an amazing thing. And I think that's what kind of pushes me. I've only just started like producing my own stuff and I'm not happy with it, but I'm just like, so what? Like, it's better than it's sitting in my hard drive waiting for me to think, oh, it's ready now. No one really cares that much.
So you're saying like, so the thought being, you have somebody who's basically putting everything together for you, like, is that what you're saying, coming from the fact where, like, you've got all the different elements and you have a producer that you hire that helps you put together the album. You're trying to transition from that to being able to do all those pieces, everything in your head yourself.
Yeah, I think I've just realized that, when you think about things like mixing, it kind of does come into the creative part of your song now. And for me, I've always just been a guitar and voice. It hasn't been because, I love acoustic. I do love acoustic music, but I haven't been like, that's my sound. It's more like, well, this is what I have right now. Yeah. When I did start producing ages ago, people were like, oh no, that sounds thing. And it just kind of put me off that, maybe this is a job for someone else. Hate that I did that. But obviously can't go back. But now what I love is that I don't think, to be a great producer, it takes years. So what I kind of want to be at a stage where I kind of have some idea the sound I'm looking for, and to be able to say to someone, okay, this is what I've done so far, just to kind of lay the foundation. Because especially having guitar and voice, people look at me and they're like, oh, okay, oh yeah, Tracy Chapman. And it's like, well, why don't you ask me? Like, I do love Tracy Chapman and I love elements of her music, but I'm not here to just be another person. I'm here to show that music has evolved. And I love, even there was times I was like, do I want to still use my acoustic guitar? And then I was like, hell yeah, I actually do. But I kind of thought, oh no, but it's kind of people's opinions. So yeah, I just kind of want someone who's willing, and the patience as well, to kind of sit down with me and to explore a sound. And for the past few months, maybe I haven't been looking in the wrong places, but it's so hard sometimes because, which I'm not angry at people for it. It's just that people, I wouldn't say they definitely have less time, but they feel like they have less time. They kind of want this artist that knows. Mm-hmm. And there are certain things that I know, but I do want to experiment and adapt to different people's styles, so then I can be more sure. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but it's just more like finding someone who's willing to be like, okay, so you like that sound. Okay, well, I know this much about mixing or this much about production, or I've learned this. Why don't we try this? And I'm always willing to try different things.
Yeah, I know. I hear what you're saying. I mean, YouTube is there's a lot of stuff on YouTube to sort of, I don't know, pull apart and get to the meat that you want to learn. But like I found like YouTube is great, and then it's just like I don't know what. It's early morning here. Maybe that's why I like my voice is just going. Still waking up, but but the thing is, I feel like you learn more by doing, right? So like continually doing it, and then because what I found was the most difficult starting was sound choice, like sound choices, and just finding the sound that's like in your head, and then just going through a ton of different sounds, and just then feeling like, oh no, that's still not the sound, you know. So and to me, like that's one of the hardest things, because it's like you have to spend the time just trudging through and learning it to get to where you can just figure out like what is your sound.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because for ages I always thought, oh, I'm taking too long. Oh, it's because I just don't know what I'm doing, and you just get frustrated. But then there's times where I'm in a studio session with people that I've worked with, and they take ages. They're like, oh no, this is not the right sound. So you just get so hard on yourself. And I think because it's you singing, it's you playing stuff in, I think there's just so many different elements of you to be so critical about
Yeah.
when you're doing your own music. Like, so it's hard, because I love the creative process, but I think it's just working with the kind of things that kind of go on in my mind sometimes, where I'm like, oh, why can't I get that sound? Or and then also sometimes you hear something that, oh, I actually do like that, so why don't I go with that? And if but then sometimes you spend hours on it and then you don't like it in the end, you're like, oh, should I just stop?
Yeah, that's the other hard thing, is knowing when to stop on something too. Like when you're heading down it's just becoming a bigger mess and a bigger mess. But then it's also like it's so tough, because that's a learning moment too, right? You learn from that. It's like there's all these critical points that need to happen, because that's just part of the learning process. And I think that's like what it's like it's just continuing to just keep going. That's what I found. Is just keep going. Just keep going, which is easier said than done, right? It's like, and then sometimes like I'll stop for a while and then just like reset, and then I'm okay. Got to keep going. Got to get back on. So yeah, it's all about the process.
Yeah, I think it's hard. Like at the end of each session, I always try and say to myself, what did I learn today? And it doesn't have to be that there's a result on the computer that's amazing. Like even this morning, I've just been doing a bit of music, and I had a session somewhere else, and I thought it was great, and now I'm listening to it now, and I'm like, but then I'm like, you know what? I still had a great session. I still kind of learned something, even if it needs editing or whatever. Like at least I've got something to show for it, that okay, I've done this. And the reason I got to there is because I was like, it sounds a bit weird right now, but let me just enjoy actually laying down like the vocals and like putting the song together. Even if I have to re-record everything in the end, at least when I re-record, I know what I'm going for. So it just makes it easier. So
do you write with other people, or you usually just write yourself, or just depends?
I do write with other people. Not a lot at the moment, because I think I'm going through just this whole like experimental time of my life. It's not even that experimental, it's just me just being really like, okay, I'm going to try something new. And but yeah, I have written with quite a few people. Honestly, I don't know, the reason that I kind of started doing this, and the reason I started doing my own like music, is because I go into some of these co-writing sessions and I just feel like I'm not really connecting with the person. And for me, it's important to get work done, but it's important for us to kind of have some sort of understanding of each other. Yeah. And I know in the real world, they just want you to sit down and like they have 5-6 people in the room and they come up with this like pop that. But I think for me, even though people say, well, you'll make as much money this way, but I'd rather have a session that someone goes away from it feeling like they got to know their music in a different way, or something more about themselves. And that's why I was like, and even again for me, especially when I first started doing co-writing sessions, it's, I'm not saying I can relate to anyone. I can relate to a man, a white man, whatever. I can. There's always something you can relate to someone with. But I think when you're young and you're writing music and like I told you about, like finding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a bit hard at first. So what I'd love to do is kind of get more of an understanding of being in the producer seat, and then actually writing with other people, especially not even just young people, just people that's wanting to explore their music a bit more. So I do want to write more, but I think when I say in terms of collaborate with more people, I just think, I don't know, I just want to make a better space for writing music. I just think at the moment it's just very sterile at the moment, and I don't like it.
It's not working.
Yeah.
So do you work a lot with like other women, or because that's one of the things I always ask about, like you know, any advice for that'd be helpful for women in their journey that maybe you've like sort of learned in yours?
I've had to really like reach out for women. It's crazy because
really?
Yeah, like in terms of, you know, just, I don't know, A&Rs being like, hey, write with this person, or people reaching out to me, it's just always been men, always has, and I don't know why that is. It's only now where with things like Instagram, where you put down a woman producer, a woman songwriter and stuff like that, you can actually find people, and they but then even now, I have to say, when I first started doing this, and this is why I'm trying to fix my network a bit more, but when I first told, like, especially female musicians, I was like, oh, I'm going to learn how to produce. And like, oh, that takes so long. And oh no, that's such a lot. And I was like, oh, this is so negative, man. Like, and then you just hear them say, oh yeah, I'm just so sick of all these. And then it's like, someone's actually saying to you, hey, do you want to come and learn this with me? Like, I'm actually going to this like class at the moment, even just talking about like, and the amount of them that just, oh no. Or you bring them into the session and they're kind of like, they're not really bringing anything. Me, when I first went into a session, I saw all the equipment. I'm like, oh, why are you using that? Okay, because I wanted to learn for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm not going to say all women are like that, but the ones in my network at the moment, there hasn't been any. And even my friends will hear this, and they'll probably be like, oh, what do you mean? I'll be like, yeah, but when I've reached out to you to be like, okay, let's do more sessions with women. Like, why don't we just have a co-writing session? It just wouldn't. They wouldn't see it as important, which I think is a shame. So if I was to say the amount of co-writing sessions I had with women, I'd say about 2 or 3. And I had a lot of co-writing sessions.
I like what you said, though, about Instagram. Like, it is really nice that there's, like, more visibility on Instagram. I mean, that's where I spend a lot of my time, and that you can just, you know, search and find people. And it's inspiring to see so many, I mean, on there, just seeing so many women doing so many different things in music, from, you know, sound engineering, you know, to beat making, to, you know, following you, who, you know, singing out there and writing your own songs. It's just cool, like, that visibility, because I didn't have that when I was younger. And so it's very powerful.
Yeah, it is. It honestly is. And it helped me so much. Like, the reason I decided to go on Ableton and to get this push and stuff, it was this lady, I think his name's Laura Escud. But she's like, she worked with Ableton for a long time when they were first like developing a performer, and now she has this thing, which I'd love to go to one day. It's called Transmute, where she basically says, look, I help you with your live sets and like having the freedom to perform with, you know, playback. And I think it's amazing. I saw that and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely. And to be honest, like, I've never seen. I never saw that in my network, but then on Instagram, woman producer, woman Ableton trainer, and then she came up, and it just helps a lot.
The other one, if you haven't already found her, is Lil Bad Snacks, Lil Bad Snacks.
Bad Snacks.
Yeah, Lil Bad Snacks, and she's somebody that's, I mean, actually, interesting enough, I think her background is. She went to school for music, I think, like classical music or something. But then she was doing, you know, busking, basically. And then, similar probably to you, though I don't know this. Like, I remember reading a quick story, you know, got, I think, into a push and figuring out, like, this whole world of doing live music this way. So you might enjoy it. She has a YouTube channel, and definitely
thank you.
It's out there.
There's so much on YouTube sometimes. I'm like,
yeah. Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Like it's hard to really, because like somebody will say to you, "Oh, do you know, like whoever?" And I've never heard of them. And then you go to their channel and like, they're obviously hundreds of thousands of other people have heard of them, but it's like I haven't. I mean, you just don't know.
People always say to me, "Oh, like, what's your like goal in life, like as a musician?" I always say, "I want to be that person that someone says, have you heard of Sherika?" And then like, no, I've never heard of her. And you go onto her thing, and she just got an amazing following, just doing stuff. Like, and you knew nothing about her. Like that's what I think is amazing, where you have your community, and
the word starts spreading.
Yeah.
Oh man. What so have you gotten so you're working in Ableton, have you really gotten into exploring like buying any Ableton has a lot of stock stuff in it. A lot of great stuff, but have you gotten to like buying any of the other plugins or gotten into that addiction at all?
Too much, man. Like so many plugins. And the thing is, you hear everyone says, "Oh, don't buy too many plugins, don't buy many plugins," and you're like, "Oh yeah, but I saw that person do that and they used that," and it's not even it's so, and even now they got like the rent to own as well, and you're thinking, "Oh yeah, it makes it cheaper." And like, no, it doesn't make it cheaper, it just means you're paying for it for longer. Some plugins, like even like the Fab filters, and I thought they've always been great. Sound Toys is good. I think when you're a beginner, and I call myself beginner lightly, like I know like, okay, I know what like frequency, or I know what auto filter is and stuff like that, but am I like someone always using it correctly? Probably not. And there's probably a lot of people who's further down in the game that still aren't. But I think I like, now that I've like bought a few, and I kind of said to myself, hey, stop, let's actually learn how to use them. The ones that are definitely, I'm happy that I bought, like Fab Filter, because EQ is always the problem.
Yeah, it's like a staple. Yeah.
And Sound Toys I liked, especially because I'm using acoustic guitar. So I bought like Bias FX, which is like an amp simulator, like sort of like FX sounds. So I didn't want to get the whole giant pedal board. I just thought I've got enough to carry. Like I want my hips to be okay, like in a few years. So, but yeah, in terms of Ableton, I haven't bought any of their, because I've only just started using Max for Live. Oh
yeah.
So I was just using so I've only just got into that, and I saw that there's a bunch of plugins that you have to pay for, and I was like, no. And another thing that I bought is like loads of hardware. So I bought like a Beatstep Pro from Arturia. And the thing is, the Ableton Push was the first one that I bought, and it's still is the only one that's really remained. I bought like a Keith McMillan like bot pad, and I was like, you know what? Again, you're just doing too much. Like so. Literally, I've just scaled it back down to like just the Ableton Push and guitar and a few plugins. But I try to stick with Ableton plugins just because I don't want too much CPU and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I've seen people do amazing things all inside of Ableton with all of the stock Ableton plugins. So yeah, it almost becomes like a mental thing where you think you need other stuff. So what, like, what are some of your favorite musicians? Like, what are you listening to right now? I know a little bit of everything, it sounds like.
a lot of different people. Like, even I found this artist the other day, his name's Thundercat, and it's like really like 70s, like old school. Yeah. And I just loved it. And again, it's another thing that was mixed. I thought it was mixed quite badly when I listened to it, but I just loved the vibe of that. I like when people bring back old school sounds. I do listen to quite a lot of pop still. Like, I actually really like Shawn Mendes. I love his new stuff. Like, I was really into it. I really like Harry Styles' new stuff. Surprisingly. Who else am I listening to? Oh, God, I'm gonna have to open my phone.
I know, it's like a tough question, right? I mean, if somebody asked me that, I feel like what I'm doing nowadays, and I'm curious if you're, is with, like, I have Spotify, so I listen to a lot of playlists. Like, it like tuned into a certain playlist. Definitely. And then, like, I don't even always know who I'm listening to.
Yeah, so this is mine too.
Okay, same issue.
No idea. And the thing is, I was having a conversation about that the other day because, you know, obviously now the artist, the fan, the relationship is so important now.
Yeah.
got to know you. But then this is the thing about Spotify. You're like, oh, I like that song, I like it, and it's like it's just playing on a playlist now.
Yeah.
And you don't. That's why I find on Instagram now I'm having to like do more content where it's just more about me and my everyday life rather than just my music, so people can actually be like, oh, I kind of connect with you because of this now. And so it's a hard one because I think it's great the amount of plays people get it now on Spotify, but are they
so I'll give you more moment to like dig, because I'm thinking like I do though know like the names, like because I'll be like, oh, like I really like this song, but like, so one of the ones because you might dig her, she's actually sort of cool, Umi, Umi, write that down. But like, so stop Siri, you're killing me. So I've been listening to like bedroom pop playlist, and this playlist called Lorem, which is like just like a multi-genre, like I don't even know what it is, it's just all over the place. Like, so what types of playlists do you?
Oh gosh, you know what, I don't even look at it. It's so funny you say that, because I don't even follow the play. It's just like, oh, I've just got it on here. Let me see.
I'll put you on the spot so bad.
I know, and I feel bad because I don't even know. It's like, even I listen to this guy called BJ and the Chicago Kid. No idea who he is, but it's turning me up.
I'll have to look that up then. And do you find like you're based, like, because it's probably like a little different, right? Being in London. I mean, you get sort of like tuned into some of the local music there that's probably different than what we're listening to. I mean, obviously like Shawn Mendes and like, you know, I mean, Harry Styles, like it's like international. But
I have to say, in terms of London music, like, you know, someone who's grown up like, you know, with grime and like, I just think this whole drill thing that's coming out in London, it's just, it's a lot. Like, I have to really find something that I like now, because I don't know if it's the same in America, but I feel in America that I listen to more American radio stations, or because
trap is huge here. I mean, the whole thing right now is people are getting into like, well, I think it's been in the past few months, like drill is becoming big here. Yeah, it's just,
and I don't mind it, but it's the same thing over and over again. So when you're saying that, oh, I'm listening to the local people here, like even in terms of meetings with like A&Rs, like had a few of them, and you just see all the plaques of all these artists that are just overly played. And I think basically what I'm saying, I'm not connecting with the London music scene.
Yeah.
At the moment. Like, I'm more going down to looking at blues, or even just like the electro folk that's coming out with these random Brazilian artists.
Oh, I don't know about that. I might like that. Electro folk.
Yeah, really cool. And the thing is that I love, it's like these people that's been around for years. Like,
okay,
you know, they're not just like these young artists that have suddenly come up with this like really cool way of calling their genre. But
okay.
It's just all this cool, and I just find, again, with Instagram and stuff, you just find them, just put something in that's a bit different, and then you find their music, and that's what I'm loving at the moment in terms of actually connecting with them as an artist.
Right.
I find it's more artists like that that's kind of showing their routines and like their like what they do to like kind of come up with the music that they have. I just like that more. So in terms of the London scene, like I hate to say this as an artist, like I'm not going to like a lot of gigs at the moment. Mm-hmm. Usually when I find someone, they're already kind of like big and they're not here a lot.
Yeah. I think it's a weird time for music just in general. Like I see a lot of people talking about that because like what you're saying, like it's just, you listen to like some of these radio stations and like for here, like there's just like so much trap and just the songs are starting to sound exactly the same, and it's you're just like, okay, ready for the next thing. So
this guy like Thundercat that I found, it was like BBC like Radio 6, which doesn't usually play, like, so it was so random, and I was like, God, I love this song, and that's the first time in ages I've been like, Siri, Shazam this song, like, quickly.
I'm gonna look for that. That's definitely worth it.
It's like, it's just really 70s and just really like, it's almost a bit comical, but I just like his character. I think it's different. I loved it.
So like what motivates you and keeps you moving, keeps you going, keeps you, I mean, like, obviously there's ups, there's downs. What keeps you going?
Routine, and that's, I just mean in my everyday. So even if it's like going for a walk, like I used to have a dog and he really helped me out because it just kind of brings you out of like your music. You have to look after, like, and he was a training guide dog. So I think sometimes that's helped me at the moment is having breaks, because there's so much it's quite overwhelming doing music. I find that you kind of want to connect with people, you want to be relevant, like you want to make sure everything sounds good, and you want to learn and you want to improve yourself. And I just think that sometimes you need to take a break and be like, wait, I am great. Like I do love doing music. And I think in those moments is when you just take your breaks, where it's kind of like you listen to other people's music, but not so like critically, where it's just in a moment where you're enjoying music. And it's like, oh God, this is why I like doing music. One thing I always remember someone said to me is just like, be loyal to the reason you started. And I wouldn't be able to put down the reason I started, but I think the main thing is just that feeling of like why I like doing music, and that this should be something that you enjoy. Because even my partner, she always turns to me all the time and be like, just remember, you don't have to do music if you don't want to. And it's like, well, obviously I want to do music. So it's like, and it makes you kind of see that it's all right to complain. It is a hard job, but you want to do this. No one's told you to do music. Like no one said that if anything, a lot of people told you not to do music. So the fact that you decided to do this and you didn't care shows that this is something that you want to do. And I think that's what kind of makes you be like, you know what, I don't care. Like there's been times I've watched videos or listened to songs I recorded years ago and I'm like, oh, that sounds terrible. But I remember that I was loving it so much, and I thought it was an amazing thing. And no one can take that away from me. And even if you listen to it was bad now, like the fact that you were enjoying that so much made me improve and made me want to keep on doing music. So just trying to find that moment where it's like, and enjoy it. No, oh my God, this is the moment where I'm really enjoying what I do. It's like, even I always say to my friends, like, be your own hype man. So when you get those like performances where they're like, yeah, on stage with the artist. Just be that person in your head where it's like, yeah, you're amazing. Like just, and also sometimes like don't be scared of like criticism. I find like my family, they didn't like something I did, they told me. And even though it's hard sometimes, and I think sometimes it was a bit harsh, and I think sometimes it can make you question yourself too much. But sometimes it's like, well, see it as, okay, well, how can I improve this? So yeah, just embracing every moment of it.
That's all. That is like all awesome advice. Like, thank you for like, I think that's really great. Like it really summed up so many things. So do you have like a 1-year goal, a 5-year goal? Like, I mean, we've talked a bit about the production stuff, and so like,
at the moment, so I recently like joined this like music co-working like sort of space. I just opened one in LA, I think it's called the Rattle Space. And so I've actually been sat down and actually talked about goals, so I should know this answer quite well. I love being independent. Like I know you hear musicians say that and you think about the money. Like I've been really lucky. Like I've done music full-time for 4 years now. I bought my first place with my partner. Like I've made it into a business, and I think that's a goal for a lot of people further down the line. And even though it's been amazing, I think I became a bit too business minded. Has to be here, just kind of hamster on a wheel. So I've kind of slowed down at the moment, because I don't want to throw stuff out, but my goal is working on this live setup, because I just want to travel. Doing music. I think the fact that I have been able to busk for a living and make an honest living out of it and connect with so many people, but then be so focused on the business side of it that I kind of lose connection with all the people that like my music, because I'm thinking, oh my God, I've got to get this deal, I've got to get that. And the reason why I kind of went out and bust, because and I quit my job in the end, because my boss was like to me, well, Sherika, if you don't want to be here, just go home. And it just really hit me, because I was like, God, I don't have to be here, like, and I'm making money from my music right now. And so yeah, I just think the goal is just to kind of still make a job out of it, but just on a bigger scale, instead of thinking that I need other people, like kind of what Tash Sultana did, you know, in that she was doing all of her shows before she like had that video go viral and stuff like that. And I think that's the goal for me, is that I really want to mix music with like, I hate to say like wellness, but I think that the world has lost a lot of connection at the moment. And in terms of talking, so before my shows and everything, I always talk about why I wrote the song. And I even sometimes ask people, you know, if they are understanding what I'm saying, like what their experience was. So I kind of want to work on a setup where I'm traveling, do my music, but I'm not talking about, a show on stage where it's just me and I perform and I go home. Like, I want to actually get to know people more with music and connect with people. So even though, you know, there's so far sounds, but I'd like to do something where it's like even less people, and you kind of, even if I cook them dinner or something, and you kind of have around the table and you actually talk and you actually feel like you've met new people that night and you go away from the experience. It's a very early idea at the moment, but I really want to do that, because there's been times where I want to go to gigs and stuff like on my own, and even though I can go and you're kind of there with your beer, you're like, I like this song. If you ain't got your friends there with you, it's kind of like you either intrude on someone else's night, or it might be a date. And I always thought that there's a really big gap in music in that way, where it's like, why can't there be a bit more conversation and a safe space where, you know, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of people shouting at the moment. So I kind of want to mix my music in with that. So I don't know, that's not a straightforward answer, but that's kind of where I see myself going, where it's like more of an experience in live performance at the moment.
That's awesome. No, that sounds awesome. I think everybody's striving for more connection in these days that we've entered here. So I think that sounds great. I have had so much fun talking to you. I have to, gotta get my kids up for school now. So all the fun, real stuff I've got to do today. But like, I had such a fun time talking to you. So thank you so much for your time and coming and doing this and chatting with me.
It's really nice. I wasn't having a great morning, so thank you so much.
And I think that this is, I mean, just you sharing, I feel like, you know, doing these and sharing them, I've gotten the comments of people who are like just so excited to be able to learn about just new women in different places, and I get excited to meet new people because it's like a great excuse to meet new people and make new friends. So yeah, thank you so much. All the links down below, so everybody make sure that you click all those great links. And Sherika, seriously, like I wish you the best, and I hope that you figure out, you know, this next path, and I'm sure it's going to be incredible. So,
thank you. Hope we cross paths in person soon.
Yeah, you know, I've always wanted to visit London someday. Right now is probably like travel right now is, you know, a lot of people freaking out about all kinds of things. So
I'm going to Thailand in a few weeks. So
okay. Yeah, I mean, but ironically, it's probably the best time to travel right now, because I've heard like the plane flights are like just like prices have dropped immensely. No one's going anywhere. But anyway, I don't want to have to self quarantine. That's my big thing. I don't. It sounds horrible.
I know. I don't. To be honest, I'm not too worried about it. My mum's like freaking out. Like, it's got these gas masks and everything like that. It's like,
oh God. Well, have a great trip to Thailand, and thank you so much. I appreciate it, and have a great day. I hope now you have a really awesome day.
Oh, you got me motivated now, so thank you.
Make some music.
Yeah, I will. Take care.
All right, bye.
Bye.